Okay, I am live and I am solo today. I don't have a guest, and I did that on purpose. I think more so because for 2025, we're talking about what do you want to prepare for 2025? We're closing out 2024. Today is December 16th. I wasn't expecting to do the live, and then I had announced it. The conversation that I had with one of my clients was around how do you prepare for 2025, and what are the things that you'd like to do? And so I thought it might be a good time to really think about having a dialogue with the people online and being able to answer some open questions around preparation or just reflecting on 2024 and then thinking, what do you want to do different in 2025? The conversation that I wanted to lead with was around your toolkit. And things that you can do as an entrepreneur, as a seasoned professional, or individual looking to grow their career in a corporate environment. And what do you need to put into your toolkit? Obviously, I'm biased. I'm always going to say that golf is a very relevant thing for people in specific industries, but it's not just that. It's also in your ability to get to know yourself. So, getting to know yourself is not necessarily just self awareness, but it's also understanding the dynamics of your workplace and how you want to show up in that space. And so, today I wanted to talk a little bit about the tools that I've shared with clients and some of the challenges that they've experienced or had, and how we've really looked at helping them solve it, but then also what we are offering in 2025 as a tool or solution, and ways that you can do this on your own, or you can work with us to do it. But ultimately, really thinking about how do we approach a workplace that could be slightly divisive in 2025 and still be productive and still be able to um, grow, learn, earn tremendous amounts of revenue, increase profit, retain clients, retain business, retain staff, like all of the things that companies struggle with, that we've got these different strategies and techniques that may or may not work. So the things that we're looking at. So in 2025, our vision is to offer more training and solutions that are in person, experiential, and focused on helping people work better together. Why does that matter? Because how much can a learning management system teach you about how you engage with others? It is online, it is technical, it is information. You may or may not be paying attention to it. How many times have you clicked through to try to advance a slide or a screen, and then it's timed out and it gives you an exam? But have you really retained that information? Do you really learn like that? Some people are not as keen to learn in classroom style. They are not as keen to necessarily learn on digital platforms and just kind of going through the motions. And when we start to ask companies and our clients what offers lasting change and impact, they often think back to the experiences that they had with one another that allowed them to work through problems, work through challenges, or freely and openly discuss ways to move forward. So, talking about one of the challenges that my clients had, one specific client, I will say, struggled with communication, and it is common in many organizations. So in 2024, that particular client really had a hard time with their C-suite connecting with one another. And it happens. People come with all of these talents and gifts and skills and don't feel like they're getting the opportunity to use them. Or they're in a space where maybe one or two people are dominating the conversation, or there is a inherent fear of retaliation or inherent fear of the organization, or they just don't feel like doing it. And that's a really honest experience for some of our employees or some of the clients that we've had. So when I look at the opportunity with that group, we did an experiential team building event. I chose the Hall of Science, because it's very interactive. It allows people to return back to play. And I chose that because I wanted those clients to have the opportunity to just see each other in a very wholesome, organic space, just allowing them to be who they are, to share stories of how they might want to bring their kids there, or share stories of their personal experiences, and more so that we can see the full person. And who you show up at work as might be different than who you show up in, or how you show up for your family. However, you have a set of core values, morals, beliefs that you're going to bring to the workplace regardless. And so many of, in that particular case, this client was unable to communicate well, communicate needs, engage with one another in a way that allowed them to be more collaborative. And all of their work was collaborative, in the sense that they created all of these reports and it's massive amounts of information from different departments that really needed to congeal to have one perspective of the organization. And they do this on a quarterly basis. They have these regulators and all of these different entities that are looking for the information. And so they were struggling to be productive, and they would end up in these 2 or 3 day long sessions not getting anything done. And many of those things can be streamlined and reduced into maybe 30-minute sprints or shorter calls. And so this clients didn't have the time to figure out what was going wrong. They just need to get these reports done. And so it became a very combative space. And once we were done through this team building, some follow-up group coaching, and some other interactions, once we were done, we found that they took the initiative to set up times to work together in smaller groups so that when they came together at the end, they were able to get more work done, to be more collaborative and able to cross-reference and cross-check each other's work in a way that was very supportive. And that's just one example. So you're like, well, how did you do that? Well, it was one-on-one listening sessions. It was time with each individual employee. That is my model. It works very well because it allows me to get insight from an individual perspective and then assess and analyze all of the information that each person has shared and find common themes, and then make recommendations based on the common themes, and then look for the tools that will help that organization move forward. And we're like, well, LJ, that's wonderful. What does that have to do with golf? Well, great question. Glad you asked. Even though you may not have asked, I'm glad you asked, hypothetically. Golf is one of the tools that we use for experience-based learning, because while people are learning together, they're also learning to communicate with one another. And what I find has been most intriguing is the way in which we doubt ourselves, the way in which imposter syndrome starts to show up in places where you're learning something new or doing something different. And golf is one of the mediums, but I feel like the bigger challenge with golf is that there's this assumption about what it is, who it belongs to, who it's for, when the reality is everyone has the capacity to learn something new. Golf is one tool, but in the end, we are looking at different ways to disrupt engagement and ways for people to connect. So that is my favorite medium, because I'm able to draw many parallels to different personality types, different utilization of tools, and different ways for us to find the best in an employee or a peer or a leader to either manage up, manage across, or manage down, and being able to communicate better. What I added to my toolkit. So we talked about the toolkit. We're talking about moving into a year where there may be a lot of disruption from religion, politics, you name it. It's probably going to show up, and you can't quite cancel and quit everything. Sometimes you have to stay. So how do you stay and have the best experience? Well, as a leader of an organization, if you're in the C-suite or you are a team lead, there are many tools that you can use to help enable conversation, but you can't, or you should not, use them or weaponize them. So in my past experience, I've had scenarios where I was on a personal journey to understand what would make me a better employee. What does it take to get promoted? What does it take to be a leader in this organization? What does it take to be able to take on more responsibility? So in many cases, you'll do like Myers-Briggs, or you'll do a DISC assessment, or you'll do some type of linked personality profile, any of these personality tools, because they give you insight on how you make decisions. The challenge is not many organizations, in my case, one organization decided to weaponize that. So then it made me inherently distrust these tools, because if these tools can be used to say that you are a certain way or you're not a certain way, then that's kind of counterproductive. So through this journey, here I am, 5 years as an entrepreneur, really just looking at all of the ways in which I can do the work that I do. Certified coach, certified project manager, whatever. Love these things. They are very helpful, actually. So never let anyone discredit the value of some of these certifications, because they teach you the best practices of any industry and entity, and then that allows you to apply them to your personal situations or professional situations as well. And so I'll say that the assessments were being weaponized in a way that made me question the validity of the assessment in itself. However, what I've also recognized during this journey is that people need a way to understand how they show up and to get it to outside of their head, or how to better work with someone that they don't know. You've got different lived experiences. You have different beliefs. You have different, we've been socialized different in different ways. When you look at how people have grown up in their career, or how they've been raised in their household, how they've entered into the workforce, the roles that they've taken, the organizations that they've joined, many of those things have shaped their perception of what a corporation is, what a company is, how it is to work with one another. And so when you look at entities, or you look at companies, you go to McDonald's or you go somewhere else, everyone has been trained on the corporate culture. And so for the CEO that I most recently worked with, his question was, how do I shift the culture? And I was like, top down. It's all about how you show up in this organization. How do you respond? How do you empower? How do you communicate? How do you hold others accountability? But not just you to them. How do you hold yourself accountable? How do you empower yourself to do the one job that you're really most responsible for, which is the viability, sustainability, and the living the mission of your organization, whatever that shall be. And so we had this really complicated, I wouldn't say complicated, we had this really engaging coaching session. We had a few of them actually. And based off of our conversation, he was unable to free his time. He was in the day-to-day minutia of the organization. And as a CEO, it is his responsibility to think about, how do I empower my team leaders that I've selected to be in these very senior roles to do the job that I know that they are empowered and able, that once empowered, they will be able to do. So his challenge was letting go and holding accountable and being able to see the future of the organization when he actually steps into his role as the CEO. And then CEOs know what they need to do, like, it's no question. But how can they do it in a way that brings the organization along? Not every CEO knows that. And sometimes it's nice to have a trusted advisor on the outside looking in, giving you feedback and insight, not second guessing your judgment, but just giving insight and perspectives, having spoken to the team, knowing what some of the challenges are, knowing where there might be some imposter syndrome or a need for validation or a need for support. But these are the things that once we were done, we looked at, how do we measure and increase retention? How do you focus on building the existing team that you've hired and spent time and money to invested in to recruit them? You've trained them. You really, as a leader, are investing in your employees. So when we talk about retention, it's also being able to address the needs of growing those employees. And so what we, once we were done, we had a coaching plan in place for the employees, and then there are some other tools that we'll add. So I digress. The point is, I've added things to my toolkit because after the 5 years of looking at different ways to help with this experiential team building and learning and growth and coaching and allowing people to work together, I started picking through all of the assessments because I thought there's got to be a better way to tell this story. There has to be a better way to help people discover more about themselves that allows them to enter a workplace to be a more engaging version of themselves with their peers. And so that there's, and reduce conflict, honestly, reduce conflict, increase patience, increase self-awareness, self-regulation, all the fun things that we talk about in emotional intelligence, self-regulation, the social awareness. I think that golf allows me to do that, but these assessments allow that first step of self-awareness that's a little bit more technical for people that like to see data and information on screen. So with that, we became, in 2018, a company. because in 18 holes of golf, you'll learn everything you need to know about a person and yourself. But in 18 weeks of golf, you'll be a better player. Trust me, I love that coaching model as well, but I don't do that as much as I used to. But I do guarantee results in 18 weeks. The conversation about the assessment, why that came about is because I was looking for tools that would allow our clients to become more self-aware before we entered into the training and the group coaching experience. And so as we enter 2025, the thing I've added to my toolkit, we are now an Everything DISC certified partner. So we can train the trainer, we can facilitate some of these different dynamic coaching / training / workshops. My favorite thus far is the Everything DISC general model, because it allows individuals to take this assessment, learn a little bit more about themselves, and then also learn about their peers. Learn about their peers and understanding like the best way to communicate with them or what motivates them. What I found is true on the golf course is also true in the office, is that I am an analytical person. I'm not going to pigeonhole myself. There are other ways that I show up, but I'm going to defer to analysis. I'm going to defer to data and information. I am going to stand by what I believe in, and I am going to show up with a certain amount of integrity that is maddening to other people. But knowing this, it allows me to build trust with my clients. I'm not selling you a bag of tricks. I am telling you exactly what I believe will be transformative for your organization. And that is what I knew that about myself, but the assessment validated it. So it kind of profiled me. And I thought, how else can I apply this to coaching situations, experiential workshops, different events and activities? And I thought, let me share how you add this to your toolkit. Think about ways that you are going to engage with your clients, how you're going to be able to assess who they are generally, not pigeonholing them again, but just generally where they might show up in this rubric, and then be able to tailor your conversation to meet their needs. So for example, I played golf. Oh my goodness, it was at like an outing, prospective client, lovely gentleman, invites me. Actually, he was more of a peer, but he had some prospective clients in his pocket for me, because I know this because someone else told me. So we go out, we play, and I'm like playing with him. I'm like, yeah, so, what are your thoughts about, and I ask a question about prospective opportunity that I'm aware of that he may not have been aware of, but I was aware of it. And he's like, people don't usually talk about your work on the golf course. And I was like, depends on your life. I'm not actually talking about golf. I actually was asking you about your opinion. And I thought, this is so interesting. Like, he just didn't want to talk about that. And I said, all right, that's fine. No big deal. Move on. But in my reflection and follow up on this, I reflected on these 18 holes. And I was like, we just had an amazing time. We just had fun. But I did broach a topic that was hole 6 or 7. I was like, yeah, just curious, because now I want to know, like, I'm just generally curious about, like, because we're at this event and it's kind of work related for him, not really for me. It's not really my client base or any of prospective targets that I had been looking at, but it was an interesting room to be in. And I thought, like, course to be at, event to be at, just generally, like, they say you have to be in the room, bring a table, bring a chair. Well, you have to be on the course, and then you're at this golf outing and there's like a million people there and you're wondering like who's who and what's what. So during our round is where I'm figuring those things out. And then after, then I'll determine who I want to like network with, or just how I want to engage, or just show up and just have a good time. I mean, I do that anyway, but it essentially at the outing, sometimes you're trying to strategically meet certain people because they're good to know. And it's good to connect with people at outings, because if they like to play, then you'll keep playing with them. Trust me, I know that. But in this case, he deferred conversations about work. So I said, okay, I'll follow up with him after if I need to, or if it seems relevant. The lesson learned was, if I would have applied the assessment that I later did, I recognize he's more of this personality type that wants to socialize and have a good time. No issue with that. However, the concern in that case is to engage with a person like that. They are socialites. It's hard to pin them down to do work. And they are generally like that. They'll get work done, but it's almost like a reluctant approach to actually getting the work done. And I think that if I've known that in the golf outing, before the golf outing, maybe I wouldn't even have bothered to ask the question. It's neither here nor there because it's in the past. But when I look at the ways in which I will have applied these tools, and now that I've become the certified partner, giving that to my clients is going to transform how they engage with each other. And I know this because I've already introduced it. I've introduced it in multiple ways in the sense that, one, I now read a room in a different way. So that's always helpful. I mean, I was already doing that, but here's how you could do it too. It is about taking one of these assessments, knowing how you show up, knowing what the other personalities are. There's nothing new. But what is new is saying, I can do this in any scenario. And I need to be more intentional about doing this again, because there's so much conflict that arises now as a result of remote workplaces, as a result of hybrid workplaces, as a result of reluctantly coming back to the office, as a result of differing political beliefs. There's so much conflict, but that doesn't change the bottom line in the work that needs to get done. So the assessment. So I use everything DISC. In that case, this gentleman would have been definitely a high I. I'm definitely relating to more of the C and D. Like, I get things done, but I'm analyzing everything from the beginning to the end, from the moment to moment. Like the fact that I remember that was whole 6 or 7 and that we had this conversation and that I waited until after, like a week after, to say, hey, how are you doing? Just want to check in on you. It was just very much me. But in the end, I look at it as an opportunity for growth and learning. And so what I thought is, for the next year, I'm actually giving that all to all of my clients. They all get it. You can choose it, opt in, opt out, but they get the benefit of it. I disclose and share my profile, how I've used it, and then they get to benefit from it as well. Because in that moment, and I think about this one client that I'm working with now, I look forward to the way this very talented, high-performing C-suite will be able to be even more productive and impactful in their work. And you're like, okay, I'm not a leader of a team. Fair. And you may say, okay, I'm also not a CEO of a company. I am Jane, whatever, and I am just on this team and I'm working. I still think it adds value. And the reason I say that is because there are a million assessments out there and they tell you a lot of different things. But in this case, as we enter into a new year, new opportunities, you may have changed. I mean, it's not essentially your beliefs are shaping who you are, but you may want greater awareness of how to navigate difficult situations, or just want something new or a different approach. I mean, my service is around helping people build develop greater self-awareness. I love to use golf to do that, because there's no greater determinant of your inner monologue or inner dialogue or the inner conversation you're having with yourself than when you step over a golf ball at the first hole, the first tee, and everyone is sitting there waiting for you. And whatever you're saying to yourself will be true. Either way. If it's negative, it's true. If it's positive, it's true. So when you stand over the ball, I always say to individuals, I think you should envision where it will go. You should claim what you want it to do and claim how you will feel at the end. And it sounds so hokey, but if you are envisioning it going into the water or the sand, I trust you. It certainly will be more. It's more likely. The probability increases tremendously. So I don't even see that. And I tell anyone that I'm coaching, when we have these one-on-one sessions, just visualize where you want this ball to go. When you're in the office, visualize what the outcome of the meeting should be. We make every single parallel. And now what I also recognize is that there's an opportunity for all of us to just be better in our offices, better with our leaders, better for ourselves and with our families. I didn't know if I was going to have this call today, because I literally am just back from a funeral. We laid my aunt to rest, and it was so difficult. But even in that, we all show different with different personalities and different skills and different things to help try to navigate family through loss. And even then, I thought about this assessment and thought about how I would love to kind of share it with all of my cousins and family members and parents. And they're not going to do it. They're like totally against all the things I do. They love when I come, love the opposite of love. They dislike when I come with all my work conversations. They don't want to do it, but it's fine. However, I get to use those tools to help me navigate very challenging family situations. And I think that what we all bring to the office is our lived experiences. We bring our family dynamics and dialogues and things that are happening in our household. And these things shape how we engage in the workplace. And some days are going to be more difficult than others, but we still have to show up. So I'm always looking for tools that will give my clients a more well-rounded way to approach that, to equip them. So if golf is going to, so one of my other clients, he says to me that golf is his peace. I said, great. Then if you know that, then you will be very mindful about how you use golf going forward. You'll be mindful of what conversations you want to have on the golf course. You'll be deliberate in who you're inviting and what you're doing and when you're playing and how you're engaging. Because if it's your piece, then make sure you protect that and make sure you ensure that it remains your piece. Because what I've learned as well, self journey, self discovery, is that there's a teaching version and coaching version of my golf experience. And then there's a version of the golf experience where I just get to have fun and think about me and learn more about what's coming up for me or how I feel or what I may be experiencing in life and how I'm able to kind of let that all go on the golf course. I'm able to commune with nature and be in that space. So what I give my clients and why I'm circling back to that is everyone needs tools in their toolkit. And you can choose to just navigate through life doing different things. But I challenge you on today, December 16th, over the next you have 15 days before it's the 31st, to think about what do you want to put into your toolkit, whether it is taking a meditation class, taking yoga or deep breathing to kind of figure out how you navigate stressful situations. Use this time to reflect on 2024 and think about all of the exciting situations that motivated you, all of the challenging situations that might have depleted your energy, all of the situations that allowed you to think, I think I need a new job, or I really love this job, but I really don't like these people. That's a real reality. That's a lived reality. Or I started this company and I am exhausted by it. That's fine. It happens. But you kind of keep navigating through it because you look at the alternatives and think, I don't want that either. So how do we move forward? But whatever's in your toolkit or whatever you've experienced, allow it to shape what you're going to put in your toolkit. When I think about who I'm selling to and what we're working on, we're always looking at how we uplift companies and entities and individuals to perform at their highest. But when you think about their highest, what is that? Like defining that. What is the greatest quality? Is it an engage? Is it where your clients feel seen, valued, and heard? Is it where your employees feel seen, valued, and heard? Is it like, what is your lived experience and how do we help you ensure that you're getting there, not just going through the motions? Like a client is a client is a client, but not really. You could throw them a party, but do they feel seen and heard? You could send them like a Harry and David. No, they're not endorsing, but I do love a Harry and David basket. Like those are really nice gift baskets. I discovered them when I was working at Barclays. Unrelated story, but the clients would send gifts to their representatives. When I think about how do you show up and how do you add things to your toolkit, could it be thank you cards? Could it be things that you are going to do in 2025 to allow people the space to grow, but then also grow yourself? So this is just my personal sharing, like what's in your toolkit. If you're adding golf to your toolkit, do call me. Like, let's have that conversation because I promise you, if you actually do the work, you will reap the benefits and really result in a redefined journey on the golf course. And it's probably my favorite thing to do. So that's why you can call me because, sometimes I'm off. Sometimes I'm sharing that information and bringing on coaches. Got a few that I like. Sometimes I'm doing it myself. I have more fun when I do it myself, but from a scalability perspective, can't do everything for everyone. Sometimes you have to hire people, and that is the lived journey. But what is in your toolkit? That is my challenge. Contact us if you want to do an executive retreat. That is going to probably be my favorite activity of planning those things out and helping organizations partner and navigate through whatever their strategic plans are, or define those strategic working plans for 2025. If they have long range plans, what does execution look like and how do you engage your people? And of course, I'm building a golf outing into your executive retreat. So no question about that. Like that is part of the rubric and part of the discovered shared learning experience. And ask any client I've worked with, that is what we do, and we do it well. Actually, we do it with excellence, to be honest with you. But I say that you've got a few days left in December. Make it a great last few days and weeks, and think about what you want to do different for 2025. What are you putting in your toolkit? How are you investing in yourself? How do you invest in your clients? How do you invest in others? And how do you navigate so that you stay sane? Because that is the most important. Your wellness, your well-being, and your longevity is what matters. So that's my motivational speech. I hope everyone enjoyed this one-on-one conversation with me. We'll probably have a guest next month because this felt like me just talking, and I love it. So it's not like the podcast or anything else I've done, and it gives me an opportunity to just share why we do what we do and what we're doing. So I look forward to seeing you in 2025. Enjoy.